So look, this is just a little short, mate. I'll try to keep it short. I know it ends up going on for ages, but you know, I have stuff to say, so you just say it. I guess I'm gonna tag Verbs again on this, and Neil Oliver and maybe Chris Packham and whoever I can think of, you know. So, you know, on the subject of these minority parties, right? They weren't always minority parties, right? Now, I've just done my last video, right? The last video that I did was talking about, you know, why don't people vote for these minority parties? Why don't people vote for the minority parties? Is it, and I pose the question, is it a little bit like music, you know? Who, you know, some of the DJs go, you know, who buys this music and why do they buy it? Yet they're the ones playing it. You know, why is, you know, a more eclectic taste or a more refined taste or a certain quality of music, whether it's more intellectual lyrics or whatever, why don't people buy that? Why do they buy more pop music, right? Or, you know, is it something to do with the reason why we only have so many rocket scientists or biologists or, you know, archaeologists, you know? Is it because there are fewer academics and the majority of people aren't so much that interested in academia? Is it almost like, you know, the minority parties, is it because they are, you know, more of a eclectic taste, you know, and the major parties more like easy listening? Is that why? Well, the thing is, right, the majority, Labour and Tories, right, they weren't the main parties. Labour wasn't one of the major parties because Labour only was invented at the turn of the century, wasn't it? Right? Labour is a new concept and invention. It's like Labour is meant to be the party for the working class or the poor, but yet it is a new party in the scheme of things, right? It is something new that was created, and it actually had a purpose, regardless of what you might read in the history books. I think it had a very strategic purpose behind the scenes, behind the stage. It was discussed and talked about and conceived of for other reasons. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about heritage, because heritage is important. The island itself that we're on, the history, the heritage, where people are from and who they are, is as important to how people identify with themselves as much as, you know, the modern times. But, you know, in television and radio are new modern inventions and devices, which has had a dramatic effect over the politics as well. Now, I want to talk about our local history site, heritage site, that I've claimed has been attacked and spoiled and ruined, which I believe was a Liberal monument, a Liberal bastion. And the thing is, right, that let's look at, I just want to show you these Dorset, right? These Dorchester, these Dorset election results, right? Because Dorchester is where Maiden Castle is, and Maiden Castle is the largest hill fort, right? With the largest area. Although there's that one near Exeter, which, you know, is quite significant, but it's lesser known. Maiden Castle is very, very well known, right? And I've just had a look now at the election history for the area around Maiden Castle, and they actually, you would have thought, identify with the ancient hill fort, right? With the Celts, with the ancestors, because it's the biggest and most well-known one. I mean, you've got the band Iron Maiden, which seems to also help promote it, you know. Now, I know that Brighton is on the south coast, a little bit more. It's not as far to the west as Dorchester, but it's more straight down from London, it's Brighton that is the place that is more associated with these minority or different parties, you know. Brighton associates with, you know, the gay pride, but also with, you know, allotments and the Green Party and liberal movements. It's a very mixed place, almost like Bristol. It is very much like that. But the thing is, right, I've just looked back, going back through the history books, and this is important to study this and know this, because Maiden Castle's there. And actually, right, it's been held by the Conservative, by the Tories, all the way through. And actually, but their main competitor has actually been the Liberals, more recently, actually. But it actually goes back Tory way back. And I find that strange. So, for example, and when I compare this to our area, you'll be very surprised, right? So we've got Tories winning here, but the Lib Dems are, I mean, Labour does terribly, right? And Lib Dems actually aren't doing that bad, 19,000 to 33,000. Then when we go back to 2017, we've got this guy called Oliver Letwin. Now, if there's ever a character chosen to play Hamlet or to appear in a Shakespeare play, it's Oliver Letwin. You know? I don't know what Neil Oliver has to say about that, but, you know, the Tories pull out Oliver Letwin. Well, who are they up against? They're up against the Liberals, and Liberals are meant to be about, you know, being relaxed and free and easy, and, you know, the Liberals sort of freedom. But people who are laid back and liberal, you might think they're a pushover and they let people win. So the Tories they pulled this guy out, Oliver Letwin. So it's challenging the Liberals being a pushover, right? So they use a caricature, a strategically chosen guy with a name, right? Labour's still doing practically terrible through this. Now, again, the Tories win, but the Liberals, you know, they definitely don't have Labour as an opposition. UKIP are doing okay at this time, but definitely not the Greens. And then going back here, 23,000 to 27,000. So the Lib Dems are definitely having a bit of a attempt at this Oliver Letwin guy. But then he disappeared. Oh, he raised 22,000 to 24. But Labour are only at 4,000. Labour are a minority party in the 2005 in Dorchester. Labour are feeble, terrible, right? The Lib Democrats, though, are at 22,000 to 24,000. That is close. That is very, very, very close. So the Liberals are actually really giving it a very, very... they've got Justine McGuinness, you see. McGuinness is... you know, it's a Scottish, Irish, Welsh, you know, McGuinness is for the heritage culture, isn't it, you know, and it's Maiden Castle, but you've got this Oliver Letwin here again. They've pulled their name out of the bag, almost like pulling Boris out of a frozen fish. Here again, 20,000 to 22,000. That is very, very close. And look at Labour at only 6,000. So we've got this... That's a real challenge to the Tories. That's what I call, you know, that's a very, very, both in the 20,000, only separated by 1,000 or 2,000. So the Lib Dems are giving the Tories a really strong run for the money all through the year 2000s, right? Now, 1997, again, 20,000 to 22 again. It's almost like they're near split down the middle between it. And Labour again feeble. Now, the thing that we need to know about Dorchester is it's never blown up. It's never expanded and got too greedy in the sense of what our area did or some other areas. It's always protected that Hillfort. It has not built any excess of buildings or houses or developments anywhere near that Hillfort. It has completely and totally protected it. Now, the Tories are meant to be, everything that's happened to London and the country. Now, the thing is that, what Double Down News have been saying is that, there was all of the Tory party wasn't into greed and excess. A lot of the Tory party had a certain, this Shires part of it that was for protecting countryside and rural places and heritage and the farming and so forth. That was kind of part of the Tory party in the nicer areas. So that will be why, Midden Castle has been protected as a heritage place. Now, Dorchester itself is absolutely amazing. It is full of heritage, culture, playhouses, theatre. It's got modern things like modern, BMX parks and things like that in the city. But it respects and loves its heritage aspects, its old buildings, the cobbled roads in the centre, the old, these old arcades and walks, and it's got a very Victorian-esque and some other aspects of it in the centre, like Bath, not as beautiful as Bath, but it's absolutely immersed in history and heritage, and they've absolutely protected that, and they've built plenty of modern places in there, like they've got new cinemas and things like that, but they have not gone willy-nilly. They've not gone silly and stupid, and they haven't ruined themselves. They haven't ruined the surrounding countryside and heritage, and they've kept up modern, but not in the complete greed and excess that Barry Sheeman did, the dumpling, right? Now, that's important. That shows that some of the Tory caring for the countryside, was intact. Although the fact that even though, there was Tories winning, they've only won by a very slim margin. All through here, the Liberal Democrats, and Liberal Democrats are also for preserving heritage and culture, have been, literally split down the middle with them. Again, Labour aren't anywhere on there. And it's Labour areas where you see this explosion in urban sprawl, explosion in smog, explosion in factories like, Cadbury's and Birmingham. Just an explosion, but it doesn't actually bring all the buildings, all the physical manifestation into the world paid for by money, but it's building more and more poverty. You're not actually bringing good, nice things into the world. You're actually exploding smog and poverty, and Dorchester didn't do that. And that shows with Labour absolutely being a complete and total minority party the whole way through. Now, here Liberals aren't doing too well because the Tories are ahead when you get 1987 and in the 80s. But I'm surprised that the Tories have got that Midden Castle area, 26,000, and you see, so 11,000 to 20, and then, right, now is 1974, right? Into the 1970s now, and the Liberals actually aren't even Stevens with them, or they aren't even a real challenge. It's completely Tory. It's completely Tory. Labour are the minority, but the Tories are well ahead. And this is 1974, 1970. Again, here the Tories, right? And again, the Tories. And again, the Tories. With actually, Labour have got 10,000 and Liberal 8,000. So Labour actually, but Labour is still nowhere near the Tories. And then going back to 1959. In 1959, it is a Tory stronghold, and the Liberals are a minority. Labour is the middle party. And here we don't even have the Lib Dems on. 1955, it's Tory, and Labour are nowhere near. And again, here, 1951, Tory, and the Conservatives again. And the 1940s again, Tory, by a long shot. And then it goes to 1941. It's this Simon Wingfield Digby, unopposed. Look at that, unopposed. Conservative hold, unopposed. How can he be unopposed? So let's just get some thoughts on this, right? So the place where Maiden Castle is, the actual biggest hill fort in England, which you would have thought would have the most strongest symbolism to the heritage of the island, probably pre-conquest heritage, I'll say as well, right? It's been held by the Tories the whole way through, and the Tories are the Royals, but they haven't spoiled and ruined it. They haven't destroyed the countryside and built all buildings around it or on it. They've actually protected it, and the town hasn't had this mass explosion of industrial growth to spoil and ruin it. And so the Tories have actually kept it beautiful, but they've all, they kept it with modern times, but they haven't spoiled it and ruined it, made a mess of it, so to say, right? But it was never, let's get this clear, and this is the important words. Maiden Castle, at least since the 1940s, has never been a Liberal stronghold. It's not been a Liberal stronghold in politics at all, although the Tories have kept it pretty and decent, right? Now, hold on a second. Right, now let's look at our area, right, in Kirklees, right? This is our area in Kirklees. Now, I'll see if I can get the election history, if they've done it the same as the other Wikipedia, right? Now, this is very, very different to the Dorchester election results, right? We have got a strong, currently, it's all about Barry Shearman and the Labour Party, although the Conservatives, sometimes, put up a challenge to it, right? I don't think it's got the actual... It's not got the electoral history on here. Hold on a second. Right. Right. So this is it's set out a little bit differently from those Dorchester results, right? But if you look here, right, we've got, it's actually, so they're only doing it from 1973 to present. From 1973 to the present, right, it has been between Labour Party control or no overall control. The Conservatives here had full control 1976 to 1979. But this is not the page that I wanted to get. I wanted to get the page that was similar to how the Dorset one was laid out going back, right? Because they've only done it from 73 to 75, right? They've not got it set out. Someone's changed it so it's not the same as the Dorchester one, so you can't actually see it going back properly. I don't know what they're doing, but they've taken all the data off before 1973. So you can't see it. Before 1973, right? In the early 70s and all the way back before, it's completely and totally liberal held, right? Except for 1953-54, when it was liberal, right? It was liberal the whole way through, and then the Labour Party got in for a 3-year term. And that is when our ancient site, which was the ancient sites here were the actual symbolism of the Liberals, right? And this area was a Liberal voting area all the way up to the early 1970s, even though that site got built on in 1953-54. And then it ended up turning into Labour, and it ended up getting an explosion of growth. Someone has done the dirty doo-doo on this page here, because it's set out to actually hide that knowledge and information from us. It's not laid out properly. Hold on, I'm going to have to try find it. You see, even on here, I'm having trouble finding them now, because on the Kirklees Council's own voting and election results, they don't want to show you it all. Kirklees Council are always doing forms, so they're either not compatible very well, or they don't work, or you can't find them. And they've now done it now. Previous election results, where are all of them? And on the Wikipedia page, it's been edited out. In fact, when I go onto the all on the websites now, when I'm ordering something from a website, on all the forms that you order something from, I'm talking about private websites that have like a checkout. When you go onto the checkouts, they all use a certain app or a program that's a generic one. Many different websites use the same checkout, you know, and West Yorkshire's been removed from it. West Yorkshire and Huddersfield has actually been removed from it. They've actually all you can choose is either York or Wakefield. York and Wakefield are the only places that you can choose on there. Someone has hacked it and taken it off, because it wasn't the case, say, about 2 years ago. It's happened recently. And now all these other election results have been removed off. I don't think our council, our Labour and Tory council, want people to see the actual history and truth. I'm going to have to struggle now to find the actual results. Right, I've actually found it, so it's kind of made the video a bit longer than I wanted to. Maybe it'll put people off listening to it, but so what? Right, so if we look at our area, for example, right, we've got this Liberal Party, right, and the Liberal, well, I don't make it, we've got the Liberal Party, right? Here in 1900, Liberals, right? And then we've got the Liberals 1906. And then we've got the Liberals again, 1900s. Then we've got the Liberals again, 1910. The Liberals again. And again the Liberals, 15,000, 1918. And then the Liberals again, 1922, 15,000. And then in 1923... we've got this James Hudson guy comes in. But look at the figures, right? 17,430 to 17,404. You've got to be kidding me, right? So this James Hudson got in by, you cannot be serious, 27 votes. He got in by 27 votes against Arthur Marshall. 27 votes, you've got to be kidding me. And then he's in again after. We've got this Unionist Party as well here, right? These figures look different to the ones that I'd seen before, although maybe these are not for local council. National Liberal. Look, here we've got, in 1931, we've got this National Liberal Party. 47,000. Something happened. Look, this James Hudson comes in for Labour, and then it's called National Liberal. Why National Liberal? Why just not Liberal? Why is it called National Liberal? Was there some sort of movement to try and take it back or something? And then again, the National Liberals, 37,000. This is 1935. Oh, and we've got two different Liberal parties here. Now we've got the National Liberals and the Liberals. There's a lot. There's 1945 and then 1983. So they've taken out all of the in between figures, which they're not showing the whole thing through. And here, 1987, Barry Shearman, they're not actually showing it. And here again, Barry Shearman, but they're not. So it's only really since Barry Shearman, but they're not showing you all the figures between here, like between the 1945 and the 1983, which is it's all Liberal, right? This area is and was the Liberal stronghold, right? But why would this area here be Liberal voting very strongly all the way through, right? And I'll tell you why. So the reason our area was Liberal voting the whole way through, I believe, is because of the ancient sites, right? We've got very, very prominent, beautiful, majestic hill fort. And then we've got another one here, which it is like a Liberty Cap shape in this surrounding valley, right? And it was there, unharmed, all the way up till 1954, right? And it had an ancient river, but that's dried up. On the prehistoric maps, there was an ancient river here, but that ancient river there dried up, right? But it actually starts, the rivers start here on the Pennines, right? And then you've got these rivers that come down and join, right? It's almost like a branch tree, right, from the Pennines, and then it goes to the ocean. And this is a major, like the Thames is a major river and the River Tyne's a major river. Well, this goes to the Humber eventually at Hull, which is a major river, right? Now, after 1066 and after the Domesday Book, they actually bought they built a fort on the hill fort, right? After William the Conqueror, De Lacy, right? And that kind of spoiled it because they massacred it and they cut some sections into it. Kind of like, it was around the same time they did Old Sarum, right? They did the same to Old Sarum. They messed around with the centre of it and raised the centre up and built a kind of fortress at Old Sarum. They didn't do quite as much as they did at Old Sarum here, but they did something to it and fortified it. I don't know what happened then, but the battery just went off, so I just had to pause for a minute, right? Now, the thing is, right, when the Romans came, this area here definitely is significant because you've got something going on here. It's the source of the river, right? And the word liberty is source. It's saucer. That's why you've got a cup and saucer, and it's a disc shape, like a mushroom disc shape, right? It's the source of the river, and the word for liberty is a saucer. After the Romans came, though, this river wasn't big enough for them. They actually built York at York, right? It's got the River Aire and the River Ouse and all that connected to it. So the Romans didn't actually build a massive city here, but I think that this was important for the Brigantes, right? And even when William the Conqueror came over in 1066, right, he only fortified here and then built a Motte and Bailey, right? So it's actually important. This site is important for the liberal symbology. It's important for the liberal symbology. And I truly believe that is why our area has been a strong liberal voting area the whole way through. Now, I think that they wanted to destroy the Liberals, to break the Liberal Party. How would you break the Liberal Party? You have to destroy the source, the core of the Liberal Party. You have to destroy what the Liberal Party means, which is the symbols of the Liberal Party, right? To destroy... You have to destroy what a party means and its symbology in order to get at it. Now, they created the Labour Party because they wanted everyone to work, and the Liberals were all about not being dominated and conquered. They were opposed to being dominated and conquered, right? But they started the Labour Party, and the Labour Party took off in a lot of places, right? There was a lot of things going on, and they ended up persuading them to build the factories here and the Imperial Chemical Factory right across this entrance here, right, where there used to be the ancient river. And then, slowly and slowly, they built up more and more, but it's still Liberal voting. And then Labour took control and actually built on top of it in the actual term that Labour was on it in 1954 and ruined it. And then it did continue to vote Liberal up till the early 1970s. But this area, the Liberal Party, was a majority party. It wasn't a minority party. It was a majority party until the 70s. And then they ended up blitzing it. So you've destroyed the symbol of liberalism. And that's how they destroyed the Liberal Party. So in our area, it was a majority party. And in fact, it was more of a Liberal stronghold than even Maiden Castle's area, which was Tory. But they didn't spoil and ruin that because that wasn't the stronghold of the Liberal Party, their opposition, right? Why didn't they capture this and treat it like Maiden Castle and keep it pretty? Is because Maiden Castle, they'd captured it, I believe, politically, and you know, it wasn't the stronghold of the Liberal Party. It wasn't the stronghold of the Liberal Party. This was the stronghold of the Liberal Party and the symbol of it, in my opinion, right? So it was a political attack. And also the final thing that put the nail in the coffin ties into the Queen's coronation, and then you even get Coronation Street popping up, and everyone is shepherded into being Labour voters, and industry absolutely blitzes everywhere. Although it hasn't completely blitzed it, because we have still got some countryside, but they wanted to destroy the Liberal Party and have it not be a prominent party anymore. And now that's why the Liberals have become a minority party, I believe, nationally. And to be honest, all those figures show it being a very strong Liberal stronghold. And the way those figures are presented now on the internet have been edited and manipulated. Someone has removed Huddersfield and West Yorkshire from all the independent websites. When you go on the web forums, I don't know who's hacked it, but someone's removed them. It was there a couple of years ago. Someone's hacked it, and it needs to be reported. And if the I don't even know if the Liberal Party are Liberals anymore. I don't know if the Liberal parties don't even want their party to succeed, if they're actually helping the Tories out. But they need to do something, because Huddersfield isn't even on the forums anymore. On West Yorkshire's, the county of West Yorkshire isn't even on there. You can only have York or Wakefield. And all the results for the Liberal history results are not being shown properly on Wikipedia. So the Liberal Party need to sort that out.